Newark, Richmond, Raleigh-Durham. We got layovers in all those cities. We're back to work. Let's go fly. Beautiful people, welcome back to another video. Paris was a success, 4th of July weekend was a success, but we're back to work now. The pilot uniform is on, and like I said, we got layovers in Newark. We'll start with the deadhead, so I'm ready here, headed to the airport now. And then we got Richmond tonight, Raleigh-Durham the next day, and then end the back end deadhead out of Raleigh. So excited to be back in the skies, ready for another week of work. Hopefully it's not too hot and you don't sweat too much. But as always, if you want to come along for the ride, let's go fly. Just made it to Newark. Our airplane 767 just landed. It actually came from Paris. So it'll be an ETOPS airplane with the bunk that we won't be using. I just found out this flight's going to be a line check for the captain, which I've done many a times. But I'll explain to you what that is. So a line check is when a captain has to get checked out. I think it's every year our company does it, and the captain basically gets checked out on the line instead of the simulator by a check airman, like kind of a special captain that goes through like advanced training and things like that. What's funny about today though is the line check airman who's been sitting in the jump seat checking out other captains, the FO automatically gets checked out because they're sitting there. He's the one getting checked out. So the line check airman is checking out another line check airman to make sure he can continue to become and do the duties of a line check airman. So hopefully that made sense. It's really no big deal. You just fly, do the procedures, everything you would normally do. Just you have another set of eyes in the jump seat who will grade you, for lack of a better term, make sure you're safe and following the procedures. But like I said, we're here in Newark, the Air Ops Center. They have this cool old school picture of Newark. You can tell it's super old, A, because of how dim it is, but also the Terminal A, how it used to have the 3 old school terminals is now just one big terminal. Terminal B, Terminal C has definitely got some upgraded. So plane just landed, we're waiting for them to start to load, and then we'll head out to the airplane. Pre-flight, and next stop will be Memphis. All right, pre-flight is done. Airplane's almost loaded. We added a little bit more fuel because of weather approaching Memphis. We added an alternate airport of Nashville, so that requires a little bit more upload of fuel. So they're doing that now. We'll do our checks inside in 2 hours, 42 minutes. I'll see you guys in Memphis. Hello from the Memphis sleep room, an all too familiar sight for me. For those who haven't seen it, this is what it looks like in all its glory. Easy flight from Newark. We were like number 4 for departure. Took off, headed to the west, flew the flight plan, and happy to say the line check airman passed his check ride. The line check airman who was giving the check ride out said, I was one of the best FOs he's ever seen. No, he didn't say that, but he said nicely done to both of us as a crew. We did a nice job, landed runway 18 left. We did have one thing happen though. Landing, when we pulled into the gate, we got a ICAS warning on our airplane. ICAS warning is just like think of your car maintenance lights that come on the dashboard there. Same exact thing on the plane, and it said brake temp. So basically it's 30 degrees Celsius here, quick math, 60, 32, 92 degrees Fahrenheit, and the auto brakes were set to 3. We had a little bit of a tailwind, and then we also had single engine taxied in with a little bit of brake pressure. Adds up to a hot brake. Anytime the brake goes over, we don't actually see temperatures. We just have 1 through, I think it's 6. Anything over a 5 or over, we have to write it up. So captain wrote it up. It's pretty common, I would say, in the summertime when it gets this hot. And then maintenance just has to do a procedure, making sure nothing's damaged. So that happened. That was the only unregular, abnormal thing that occurred. Now I got, see, it's 12 o'clock local. I got a report at 2. I got 2 hours, so I'm just gonna grab lunch. I don't have time to get the workout in, so I'll have to do that in Richmond. We gotta run a little bit, so I'll run when I get there, which I've run before. The downtown there in Richmond is cool along the water, so we'll do that when we get to Richmond. Go grab my car real quick, get some food, change out of this to change back into it later, and we'll keep on trucking along. Beautiful people from the ramp, Memphis, Tennessee. We just pre-flighted the 767. Weather coming in from the west. Luckily, we're heading to the east. We're going to Richmond, Virginia. It's been a minute since I've flown there, but it'll be a nice, just under 2-hour flight. Forgot my sunglasses though on the crew bus, so luckily another crew found them. They're hopefully bringing them back out before we depart. Otherwise, I'll be back in Memphis tomorrow. I'll grab them then. Otherwise, hour 52 minutes. I'm gonna be pilot monitoring again for the second time today. No big deal though, like I always say. End up paying you the same anyway, so all good to me. Just met with the captain, went over the flight plan, and fingers crossed our sunglasses come. Next stop is Richmond. I didn't get a workout in though. Just not enough time. I didn't run, I didn't lift. So I'll make sure we get to Richmond. We'll at least get one of those in. That's so fun. Greetings from Richmond, Virginia. Just got to the hotel. Turned into a longer flight than anticipated. We were all loaded, ready to go, like 15 minutes early. And then a big thunderstorm fell over Memphis. So ground stop for the tugs, rampers, moving the stairs, all that stuff that comes with lightning in the vicinity. So we had to wait to get pushed. We had to hold our beacon. It's called beacon is the light we turn on to let ground know that we're ready to push, and we weren't even allowed to turn that on until that thunderstorm went away. But then we started getting finally rain. It was a quick 15-minute storm, ready to push. We started pushing, and the tug broke. The tug's that cart mechanism thing that pushes every airplane back from the gate. We went like, I don't know, halfway, about 50 feet, usually about 100 feet in a turn to get pushed. We went about 50 or so feet, and then the tug just broke. So we had to set our brake. We only had one engine started at that point because we were cleared to start both engines. We kept the APU running, didn't start the second engine as in the right engine, and it took about like 15 minutes because the tug couldn't work. They had to call maintenance to get the tug fixed. They finally got the tug fixed, and then the ground crew finished the push back in Memphis, and we taxied on our way. And then they switched the runways around because of that storm. We're supposed to depart to the south, which is a closer runway. I'll pull it up on the iPad. But we had to depart to the north, which is just makes for, instead of a 4-minute taxi, makes for like a 10-minute taxi. So overall, just like I said, a little bit of a longer flight. And then once we got going, thunderstorms everywhere. Here's Memphis Airport real quick. So we park up here. We were right here where our tug kind of broke, and we were supposed to originally depart 18 left. So right here, quicker taxi, but we had to taxi all the way down to 36 right. So it just adds a couple minutes. And then, like I said, thunderstorms everywhere, just typical South summer. As the heat index is close to 100, you're gonna get these pop-up storms, and this is delayed weather, but it was pretty, I don't wanna say bad, but we had to deviate to the north, then head to Psalms, which is one of the fixes on our route, and then up to the north they had air traffic control flow because of all the weather that was around DC and New York and stuff. It just makes all the airspace busy. And then we did the arrival and approach. We landed runway 16. It was actually my leg. Captain let me choose. I chose to take this leg, so I needed to fly the last one. So we landed 16. We're not sure exactly what happened, but the ILS, which is the frequency that gives us the vertical and left and right lateral guidance down to the runway, was not working. So I clicked off the autopilot, left the auto throttles on, and had to do like a real visual approach to 16, just using kind of my visual kind of references, and then the PAPI light there ended up getting me down. But I know it might sound silly, like pilots flying visual approaches. When you get to flying bigger and faster jets, it's very, very rare you're not flying with a flight director at the very least to fly you down. But I turned that off because, again, none of the information was accurate. So from about 2,500 feet, about 7 miles out down the runway, it was a pure visual. Landed flaps 25, and based on the conditions and everything we had to deal with, I didn't ask the captain for a grade, but 9.6 out of 10. The difficulty, the actual landing itself was probably like an 8.7 on the touchdown, but landing is approach, landing, the difficulty of not having the autopilot and the flight director on, I'm going to boost it up to that 9.6 out of 10. Just beat the rain. It just started pouring on our drive here. I haven't worked out. It's exactly 8:07 local time. I'm hungry. I'm tired. I got Whole Foods for dinner. Shout out to the Memphis Whole Foods. It must have been watching my vlogs. I've been dissing them and burying them over how terrible their hot bar selection is. It's been excellent. Some pork, some chicken, jerk chicken, cilantro lime chicken, rice, veggies. It's been very good. So A+ on the hot bar in Memphis there. Still haven't received the free gift cards though. I don't know what's up with that, but I'm excited that the good food and healthy food is back. But I got to move my body some way. I don't want to, but maybe I'll just do some push-ups and pull-ups here in the hotel gym. I'm not gonna get the run in because it's just getting too late. We got an early morning wake up. But either way, that's it. Short time here in Richmond, and then tomorrow early wake up to fly Richmond back to Memphis. Good morning from the Richmond ramp operations area. This is where we're hanging out until our airplane gets started to load. We are here on time, but the airplane just arrived from Memphis. They have to unload it and then reload it, do all the sorting and all that stuff in the facility. So instead of sitting out in the hot plane, we usually just hang out in the operations room. Captain and I discussed the flight plan, the weather looks pretty good. They gave us an alternate of Nashville because there is some weather around Memphis, just normal summer pop-up storms, but should not be an issue. It'll be the captain's leg. And right now I have my fingers crossed. I just called crew scheduling. The rest of my trip is I fly to Memphis now, then I fly to Raleigh-Durham today, quick layover in Raleigh-Durham, then I fly back to Memphis, and then back to Raleigh-Durham with the back-end deadhead. I called crew scheduling because there's a trip in open time that covers that exact same footprint, but instead of flying back and forth and having all these breaks, I would fly to Oakland, California today, short layover in Oakland, then I'd fly to Indy, and then my trip would be done in Indy, so I get home like a full 12 hours earlier, paid a little bit less, but the convenience of being home earlier for me is worth it. Less legs. It's only 2 legs instead of 3 flying legs. Just kind of trying to work this system. So hopefully by the time I hit pause on my recording of this clip, it's in. So when we pre-flight the 7.6, I'll either be super happy Pete or just normal happy Pete. Well folks, just normal happy Pete. I didn't get the trip. They didn't approve it. It is what it is. What are you gonna do? Can't cry over spilt milk. Just pre-flight of the 7.6. We're flying Mr. Garrett today. She's all set, just getting loaded right now. Carry my suitcase up the stairs. Like I said, it'll be captain's leg. Relatively short flight, hour and 50-minute block. We're heading westbound, so we're cruising at 36,000 feet and pretty light. And we'll get to Memphis. I'll have a bunch of hours there. I did, in case you were wondering, I did get a workout in yesterday, just in my room, some body weight exercises, push-ups, sit-ups. But today we'll get back at it, the normal scheduled programming. We'll get our run in, and then maybe even a lift, depending on how much time you got. But we'll be back at it today. Don't you worry. We arrived in Memphis, Tennessee. Good flight, everything was on time, worked out well. I'm being asked though on my comment section about air traffic control and communications and frequencies. So, just want to give you an example here. Richmond flying to Memphis, the route we just did. You can see these kind of black outlines. These are all the different sectors that air traffic control has. So this one, for example, is Washington Center. So we're talking to air traffic control throughout the entire flight. It starts with ground control to get pushed back from our gate. They gave us taxi instruction to runway 16, which we departed when we were about to take off for Memphis. So on the runway, they transferred us over to tower frequency. Tower cleared us for takeoff, and then we flew the departure. After we departed, Tower handed us off to Potomac departure, which controls all the airplanes in and around Richmond. As we were climbing through about 10,000 feet, they handed us off to Washington Center. Washington Center handles this entire outline. So basically airplanes at different altitudes, they have, think of this pie broken up into even more sectors as it goes up and down vertically. There's going to be different frequencies we're going to hand you off to. Then it was Atlanta Center for a little bit, and then eventually it was Memphis Center, which then turns into Memphis Approach, because we were flying the Blues Arrival. So when we're on this arrival, it's starting to descend, we're getting handed off to Memphis Approach, which again has different sectors. Around day 6, they handed us off to the second approach, who vectored us on the ILS to runway 36 left, only runway that was in use this morning. And when we're about 5 miles or so from the runway, they handed us off to Tower. Tower cleared us to land runway 36 left. Tower told us to exit at this intersection, handed us off to ground. Ground frequency gave us all the way to our ramp, and then to enter our ramp, we talked to ramp control. So in that hour and 50-minute flight, we probably talked to 30 air traffic control sectors between ground, approach, departure, different centers, different altitudes. You can imagine a flight across the country is quadruple, 10x that, and then a flight, when you're flying into Europe and stuff like that, it's even more. They're all just broken up into these different centers and different sectors all along, and that's how it communicates. So 5 hours till my show time, so I'm going to change out of this like I normally do. Today we're getting the non-negotiable info. So running. I'm gonna head to a park. My last vlog, I ran around the outside of the airport here in Memphis and got scolded at in the comments because it's unsafe. So I agree, it's not the best place to go for a run, but sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. But we got plenty of time now, so running sneakers will on, and then I'll see you guys out there for a run. Training plan has for about 7 miles today, speed work, but we're gonna adjust it. Instead of taking the breaks, we're just gonna run like 35 minutes, 7:30 pace. We're somewhere. We parked at Whole Foods because that's where we'll finish the run today for some lunch. It's hot, it's humid, I'm sweating. Seems like a pretty place, safe to run. All you Memphians, let me know if White Station Road is safe, because that's where we'll be for the next hour, cranking out these miles. Let's go. Beautiful people from the ramp in Memphis. Got our 7 miles in the book. We did the thing. It's hot. I was sweaty, but thank you to Whole Foods again. Great menu, great lunch, and now we got just under 2 hours. Raleigh-Durham RDU. It's gonna be my leg to fly. Met up with the captain. Those pop-up thunderstorms are coming from over there. We're going that way. Hopefully our tug doesn't break this time. We get out of here on time, beat that weather, and then there's some weather around Raleigh as well, so they gave us alternate Norfolk. Again, not planning on using it, but it's there. We got extra fuel if we need it. Meeting up with my buddy from high school. I haven't seen in years. He just had a kid, so excited to see him. Next stop will be Raleigh. Let's go do it. All right, the beautiful 767. She's all set, ready to go. Let's go fly her. Good morning, beautiful people from RDU, Raleigh-Durham. It's the next morning because when I landed yesterday, my buddy picked me up. I've known him since I grew up with him. Known him since I was like 3 years old. Haven't seen him in a couple years. And went to his house with his wife, his new baby girl, his mom, his aunt and uncle, who I also know pretty well. They grew up on my block back in my hometown in New Jersey, and we just caught up. And by the time I Ubered back to my hotel, I just crashed and right to bed because it's early morning wake up. It's currently 6 a.m. Got about 20 minutes before I have to be downstairs. But I want to go over the flight from yesterday because it was quite the hectic one. Here's our flight from yesterday, Memphis to Raleigh-Durham. It started off as a very normal flight, but summer weather started to build and cause a little bit of a headache for us. On departure, you could see we had to fly south and deviate around the first set of cells of thunder, and then we were about to get kind of closed in here. We're like, well, we need to turn now. So started heading north. It was my turn to fly. So I was the one manipulating the MCP at this point at 37,000 feet. Autopilot's on. By law, it has to be by federal aviation regulation. Then more and more thunderstorms were deviating around, and then this is where it got interesting as we were heading into Raleigh-Durham. Here's Raleigh. This is where we need to be going, but look at this, just build. ATC had us going through this gap. Originally, that's why we're heading this way, and all of a sudden, it just closed up. This storm was pretty violent, pretty brutal. There's actually been some flooding in the Raleigh-Durham Chapel Hill area because these flash floods kind of just pop up. Because when we were leaving, the radar was pretty much clear, and this just builds. But every airliner has radar on it, which can paint these on our screen. So that little gap that people were getting through closed up, all red, violent, no good. We're not going that way. So we tell them that we need to start heading north because everything was socked in, everything was closed. Again, this isn't like updated weather on this map, but it gives you a pretty good visual. So we said start heading north. The problem is the weather was also moving with us at a pretty rapid speed. So we start flying, and then all of a sudden our gap, the issue became, hey, are we going to have enough turn radius to make this turn? Because there's a big weather cell here. This was the gap we were shooting for, basically right over Richmond, Virginia, and luckily it didn't close up on us and we were able to make that turn. So we all thought, okay, we're in the clear now, popped out of the clouds, no turbulence anymore, we're in the clear, everything's gonna be okay. No. A bunch of airplanes, 787s, 777s, you name it, they're all going into this very, very busy airspace. They were getting holding patterns into DC, and then some of them just didn't have enough fuel to continue to hold, so they had to divert. Well, guess where their diversion airport was? Charlotte was socked in with weather. A lot of them were going to RDU. So our arrival got really, really busy with a lot of airplanes coming in. You'll see here us doing a lot of freaking turns out of nowhere just from ATC to give us directions. And then finally we're cleared direct to the airport via the arrival. And then we had one last oh boy moment, and that was right when we were on the approach for runway 23 right. They were doing simultaneous operations, landing both runway 23 left and 23 right. We were cleared for the approach for 23 right, following our flight path. I picked up and intercepted the localizer right around Marby. We're about to intercept the glide slope and head down, but I'll show you back here on the arrival. If you watch closely, you'll see our airplane go off the flight track out to the west and then back on. Watch this and I'll tell you what happened right there. So it looks kind of small because this is obviously just like the returns of our flight path, but it's moving at 10x speed. So right there was actually a jet that was coming right at us, and ATC had cleared them to turn for the ILS for 23 left, and he goes,
"Hey, he doesn't even turn?"
And they're like,
"No, we can't. There's thunderstorms."
Which again, I'm not blaming the pilots. I'm not blaming ATC. I'm not in the flight deck to tell them what they can't do, but they were on a collision course with us. So luckily I actually had started the turn already when ATC said, "Hey guys," to us, Peter's plane, make a right turn immediately heading whatever it was, 030, to avoid that conflict. So we did. We're only on it for a little bit, and then he told us to re-intercept the localizer for 23 right. So intercept the localizer, the glide slope, that's the vertical and lateral guidance down to the runway. Popped out of the clouds around like 3,000 feet. Weather in Raleigh was getting windy though because of all that storm. I showed you all those cells to the east of the airport blowing to the east. I'm sorry, all the cells to the west of the airport blowing to the east. All of these blowing that way caused for gusty, windy conditions, and I was proud of myself and the captain for getting the job done. We thought for a second we're gonna have the divert to go to our alternate Norfolk, but we're able to get the job done. Gusty landing winds. I'm gonna go with a 8.1 out of 10, and then we taxied to our gate. My buddy picked me up, so it was a long day. Earned your paycheck on that one for sure. Busy in the flight deck, but that was the flight. Short layover. Slept in my king bed. Still pretty tired though. I wish I could just I need like 8-9 hours to fully catch up from Europe and now from this, but we got about 10 minutes now till we got to meet down, so I'm gonna get changed and then we'll see you on the ramp in Raleigh-Durham for our second to last leg of the trip. Let's go. Good morning from the 767 Raleigh-Durham ramp. We got airplanes taking off 23 right. We'll be going that way here in a little bit. All things going well. There's our sister 767. Pre-flight's all set. We got about an hour before departure. Plenty of time. Just had my breakfast in the crew lounge. It'll be captain's leg to fly since I took us here. And we're going to Memphis. Good news is good weather now, but just like most summer weather, it's building. It'll be here when we head back to Raleigh. It's gonna be myself and the captain again. And I'm hoping for no delays though later this afternoon. I gotta catch a flight out of the passenger terminal. I have like an hour to spare, so fingers crossed for that. That's what we're really hoping to make. Get me home a night early, paid to be at home, nothing better. But today's flight is pretty standard, just under 2 hours. We're heading directly to the west, cruising altitude 38,000 feet. We're pretty light. And then shout out to the mechanic here at Raleigh-Durham. He didn't want to be on the vlog, so we gotta respect that. He came up to me, he goes, "Hey Pete, non-negotiable," and we just chit-chatted. He's getting his private pilot's license, and always fun to talk to people that love aviation, aspire to be it, especially a teammate who obviously works here and helps keep these big birds flying. So shout out to him. Next stop is Memphis. Let's go fly. Memphis, Tennessee. A little bit of weather to divert around. Otherwise, captain landed 36 center. Pretty easy flight. Cruising at 30. I think we ended up at 36,000 feet. And I'm tired though. Freaking tired. Just didn't get enough hours of sleep. So made my little sleep room bed. We're in charge of kind of putting the pillowcases on, and the sheets usually come already on there with the mattress cover or whatever. But SJ asked me the other day, she goes, are they
comfortable?
When you're tired and you want to lay down, it's not as comfortable as my bed at home, and it's tiny because it's only a single bed, or a single size mattress. But beggars can't be choosers. It's nice that they have this for us. So hung the uniform up, and I'm gonna get a couple hours, not a couple hours, but at least, I don't know, 45 minutes to an hour. I got like 6 hours before my show for the last leg of the day. I got one more left. So quick little nap, and then we'll get after it here in Memphis. All right, nap was a success. Got about an hour and a half sleep, much needed. Now we're back outside. You already know, folks, it's non-negotiable. 5 miles today, minimum. We'll see how we feel. Might push a little bit more. Parked at Whole Foods again. Running along the road. This way we'll get our miles. Hopefully the hot bar's got some good food again. We'll eat, head back to the op center, shower, and get ready for our last leg. I'm tired. I'm ready to go home. Gotta push through though. Let's go. Folks, we did it. We got 6 miles in on the run. It was hot. As you can see, well, I don't know, you can't see how hot it is, but it's hot, trust me. Almost 100 degrees here in Memphis. Just pre-flight of the 767, and we're flying. You might be your name. I don't know. It's a pretty common name. If you're a boy, we're flying Henry. So if your name is Henry, shout out to you. We're taking you to Raleigh-Durham, last flying leg of the trip. This trip ends with a back end deadhead. We got one jumper on board, just under 2 hours. Same issues we had yesterday. Thunderstorms everywhere. Build up. It's gonna be bumpy leaving here out of Memphis because of all these thunderstorm clouds that are building. And then there's a line of weather
just to the west of Raleigh. So we actually, Captain and I talked about it, we actually had our flight plan switched so that we could come in from the south instead of the north this time to hopefully alleviate some of that stress and some of that wiggling around that we had to do yesterday. But last leg, excited to be home, excited to get done. Fingers crossed I make it. We briefed, and it's something I brought up. You learned this in like private pilot school. It's called threats. So one of the threats today is I'm trying to catch a flight home, right? So I can be done with work. But obviously the most important thing today is getting this plane safely on the ground and getting it to where it needs to be. So obviously I want to make the flight home. That's very far down on the priority list. Number one, getting here early. So all you aspiring pilots out there, especially when you get to the airlines, you'll hear the phrase like get home-itis, last leg of the trip, and you just want to get there, but you got to remember, hey, you still have your duty and your obligation as an airline pilot to operate safely for yourself, the crew, the airplane, the passengers, all that good stuff. So I'll promise you I'll be doing that today, and then stay tuned for the landing grade, and if we make our flight back, hopefully, you know, these weather pop-up storms stay at bay, and we'll get there. So next stop's Raleigh. Let's go fly.
Just landed in Raleigh-Durham. Look what I was greeted with, a rainbow. Interesting flight. I got to rush to the terminal though, so we'll debrief when we get there, hopefully making our flight to New York. Woo! All right, we're through security. The reason it took so long, holding into Raleigh-Durham, I'll show you guys the flight path. You'll hold like 40 miles south of the airport at like, I don't know, 17,000 feet for about 40 minutes. So there's my gate, D5. I think we're gonna make it. I see people online. Whew, it never ends, never easy. Fingers crossed there's one open seat so I can at least be relaxed on this flight to LaGuardia. Pilot hack tip number one. As soon as you can, change out of the pilot uniform. A, it's more comfortable. B, you don't get asked and stared at as much when you're incognito. Quick stop for a burger. We're starting the board. Long freaking day, but we'll make it home. All right, we just landed back in New York. It's 10:30 local time, long day, and I got a special guest with me here. We got Captain Nelson. I rode in his jump seat up from Raleigh-Durham. It was a good flight. What airplane you flying on?
I'm flying the CRJ-900 for Endeavor Airlines, the Delta connection.
And where did you go to? A lot of people that watch this are up-and-coming pilots. What is your advice to them? This guy's crushing it, young 20s. I won't give away his age, but in his young 20s, already a captain, flying jets. What's the best piece of advice you got for everyone out there?
Just keep going. You know, no matter what obstacles you may encounter, just keep going. And if you really wanted it, just keep working and it'll happen.
I love it. I love it. And Nelson was nice enough to give me a ride from Raleigh up to New York, and then if you give me a jump seat ride home, look, you can get a free Uber back into the city. So I appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
we're almost home. We're almost home.
Thank you.
All right, we made it back to the New York City apartment, and look who's here to welcome me. Oh, did we announce the big news?
No.
I don't think we did. I think we did.
No, you didn't.
All right, you want to tell the people the big news?
I'm moving in.
She's moving in, folks. Roomies.
Roomies.
We're gonna have a room. We're gonna be roomies. Nice. SJ's here, and she has dessert ready for her favorite pilot. Gonna heat up her healthy. If you don't follow her on social media, you should, because she makes all these healthy, yummy desserts. Thanks, babe. We're back in the New York City apartment. We'll brief the flight. So it was a fun flight, to say the least. We departed Memphis on time, and then we got going. Few storms on departures that we had to deviate around. Like I said, it was my leg, And then we actually ended up making our own flight plan. What I meant by that is I looked at the weather. We had Wi-Fi on board, so I was able to see real-time weather, and was able to then say, hey, we want to go to these different fixes to avoid all this weather down here. Our original flight plan had us going south of Charlotte, and that was no bueno. So we gave ATC new instructions. They granted us permission, and then this is when things got fun. We were flying through those popcorn clouds that I showed you. It's actually kind of fun to navigate the airplane in the MCP and kind of just fly in and around these building clouds, if you will. It was really cool to kind of fly in between them and left and right because we got free deviations. And then just when we thought we were out in the clear, we cleared this weather, boom, RDU, Raleigh-Durham got smacked with weather. They closed the airport down. They had microbursts, wind shear, airplanes were going around and diverting. So they actually gave us a right turn to Fayetteville and hold. So you'll see here in just a second, the airplane makes a sharp right turn, and then we head to Fayetteville, Fayetteville, there it is, and we start this holding pattern. So we were told to hold northeast on the Fayetteville 020, right turns, and 15 mile legs. Plug that into the FMS, and the autopilot does it for us, making sure that we did the right holding pattern, and that's exactly what we're doing. So we're just circling 17,000 feet. I slowed the airplane down to 240 knots so that we could save as much fuel as possible in case we had to divert. So in the airline world, we take off with enough fuel to go from A to B, and then we have fuel as a reserve or alternate fuel in case we need to go to a different airport. So we call it bingo fuel. That's the term we use, bingo fuel. This is the amount of fuel that when we hit that fuel, no matter what, no questions asked, we are then going to divert to the other airport. So our alternate was Richmond, but just because it was our alternate on our flight plan doesn't mean we actually have to go there. So we actually changed it while we were in our holding pattern, while we talked to dispatch via our text messaging or ACARS. We decided that Greensboro GSO was a better alternate for us fuel-wise and operational-wise. It was better and easier for us to get there. So we were in this hold doing exactly that, calculating our bingo fuel, and then luckily the airport opened back up. I think we ended up doing like 3 or 4 laps around this hold, and like I said, we were getting close to our bingo fuel. It was about 16,000 pounds. ATC said, hey, that storm passed over. You're now cleared direct to Raleigh, and they gave us vectors around the storms. It was my leg. They cleared us for the ILS to 2-3 right, and we were able to land safely. Now, for the landing grid that everyone's been waiting for, weather, holding. Raleigh-Durham was not my friend on this trip, but shout out to Captain Nelson again for giving me that ride home. We made it. We're back in New York City a date early, so we're getting paid to be home. We're pumped about that. Landing grade, any guesses, SJ?
You?
Yeah, what do you think about
After the storm?
After the storm.
A 10.
A 10 out of 10?
You're amazing.
I am amazing, but no, it wasn't a 10 out of 10. We're gonna go with a 9.4 out of 10. It was pretty nice. Captain and the jump seater gave me kudos for it. So we made it safely. Fun trip, long trip. I feel like I've been gone for 2 weeks. Istanbul, Turkey, Paris, then this trip. So gonna relax for a little bit and chill. Unless another like
Good
Dubai
trip
trip comes up, then we might have to go to Dubai. But for now, that's going to end it. As always, thanks for coming along. I hope you enjoyed it. Any comments or questions, leave them below. Hit me up on Instagram with any questions. Make sure you follow me first so I can see it. Until next time, I'll see ya. Be well.